Hello, everybody. Today, we're venturing into a topic of immense gravity, a conversation often shrouded in silence and stigma, yet one that needs our urgent attention. That's suicide. We're peeling back the layers of a journey through a dark world, a journey marked by personal battles, societal pressures, and heartbreak. Today, joining us is Barbara Legere. She's an extraordinary woman who turned the most tragic loss a parent can experience into a powerful beacon of hope for others. She's an author of Kevin's Choice, a raw and heartbreaking memoir that delves into the darkest corners of substance abuse, disorder, and mental health struggles. Barbara is a relentless advocate for families dealing with similar circumstances and has unflinchingly shared her story, illuminating the hidden anguish countless of parents face while caring for children that society tells them to abandon. Her mission is to shatter the silence around these issues and offer solace, understanding, and hope to those who tread the same harrowing path. Let's get into it, and here we go. Barbara, welcome to the show today. I am very excited to have you here talking about this subject.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me here.
Okay, let's jump in. I always say that one thing that I love about our show is that I get to ask people questions that other people are afraid to ask or don't have access to ask. So thank you for being here. So first of all, can you describe your journey and some of the pivotal moments that you share in Kevin's Choice, your book?
In Kevin's Choice, I try to show people what it looks like to be have a mental illness and also to have substance use disorder. And I show that it can happen in any family and it can happen to any parent. And what we go through is nothing short of horrific, watching your child suffer through something like that. And Kevin was a wonderful kid, wonderful person, but he did struggle, and I saw it from early on. And when he discovered drugs at age 17, he discovered heroin. That was that was his biggest downfall. And from that point on, his life was just really difficult and got to the point where he couldn't go on anymore.
How did he get into heroin, and did he have his mental issues before finding heroin?
Yes, he did. He was a happy little kid for the most part, but he had a couple of traumatic incidences in his life when he was young, under the age of 10. But what really bothered him was not having a relationship with his dad and feeling depressed and unwanted on that level. So I did have him in therapy and seeing a psychiatrist at a very early age, and it seemed to help him. Um, but yeah, I think that is what came first, and I think that's why when he started using, he discovered, wow, I feel great. This is what I've been looking for all my life, because it gives you that feeling, it makes you feel good.
Gotcha. Did you know that he was actually using when he started, or was it hidden and you just thought he was happy?
He hid it for 3 months. I didn't notice. I knew he'd been drinking and smoking weed here and there, but I really didn't know at first. I was very naive. I didn't even know heroin was around. This was about 15, 16 years ago now. But he did admit it to me. He came to me one night and he told me.
Mhm.
And he said he wanted to stop, and I thought, okay, great, that's it. Well, you stop and it'll be over. And boy, was I naive to think that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to break an addiction for sure. It doesn't matter what the addiction is, probably.
And I was naive. I think the best thing you can do is educate yourself. And I educated myself. I wanted to know every single thing there was to know that went on neurologically,
Mhm.
socially, everything. And I think I did a pretty good job of that because I I kind of got it. I kind of got what he was going through, and I got that he was no longer getting high to feel good. You get to a point where you get high just to feel well because you're so sick if you don't have it.
Yeah. So
That was
like, what do you think? Because I love that you said you were naive and you didn't understand, and there's probably a lot of people like that. What are some of the misconceptions that people have, one about mental illness, and then with drug use, and then combining the two? What are some of the misconceptions that you find that people have?
I think with mental illness, people expect it to be something obvious and something dramatic, but it's not. It's the day-to-day things of deep depression, anxiety, panic attacks that affect your
Mhm.
day-to-day living and what's going on in your mind at all times. That is mental illness. There's all kinds of mental illness. He was diagnosed with bipolar for a while, but I don't know if that was right or wrong. He was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. Now I forgot the question.
Now, I wanted to see what are some of the
Oh,
misconceptions people
misconception.
have,
And
especially
then
about the drug use and about the
drug use
drugs.
misconception for me anyhow was that you can stop if you want to. You can just, go to a program, work the 12 steps, and then you're done. And obviously that is wrong. That is very wrong. So, or else there would be no addicts, there would be no deaths from overdose. It would be a completely different world if it were that simple, but it's more complex. And I think people don't understand how complex and hard it is, and that even if you do well for years, you're always at the risk for relapse. You're always at that risk. I've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah. See, so what are some of the struggles with relapse, with actually somebody thinking they're off of it, but do you have to keep watching? What do you have to do to help support them?
Well, to help support them, that's it. You just support them, you love them. For a parent, it's very hard to let your guard down and think, okay, they're better now. But years go by, maybe up to 10 years. And then you have no resistance. You can't, and you decide, okay, I'm just going to use one time again. But your body can't take what you're used to taking before. You're not aware. And so you overdose. Or let's say you're in jail for 3 years or even 1 year and you get out and you decide to use again. It may be your last time.
Gosh, it's like for parents who might be going through this right now and they haven't even like talked to their child, their spouse, their whoever, like what do you tell them? Do you tell them just like you got to bring it up, don't be afraid, or how do you approach it?
Absolutely. Oh, and today's world is completely different than when Kevin was using at the beginning of his time. He did end up using fentanyl at the end of his life for about a year. But now it's fentanyl that we have to worry about. Parents need to make their children aware at a very early age. I would say grade school, 9 or 10, that you never take a pill unless it was prescribed to you or your parent is giving it to you, because that's the big thing. We have to talk about it. I think society is doing a much better job of telling people how dangerous fentanyl is than we did during the opioid epidemic. Nobody wanted to talk about it. It was like stigma surrounded it. And now we're talking about it more, and it's so important. It's just so dangerous.
I mean, people get prescribed fentanyl while you're in the hospital, and people go like, "Well, it can't be that dangerous." I mean, it's FDA approved, right? So, one, how are people getting it on the street? And two, how do we get past this whole idea of it's safe because the doctors give it to us? Or how
Well,
do you do it?
doctors give you the right amount. They give you a little tiny bit, and it works. I had it when I had my head injury. They put me on it for pain. But on the streets, oh gosh, it's horrifying. They're manufacturing pills and selling them as, let's say, Narco or Xanax or whatever, but they're mixing fentanyl in with it because that will get their clients or drugs users addicted to it. The problem is you don't know how much is in each individual pill. And if there's just a little bit too much in that one pill, you will die. They
Hmm.
say one pill kills, and it's true. I mean, you have to be so careful. And then I know a lot of opiate addicts that were using heroin. Now they're using fentanyl because heroin is so difficult to get. Everybody's using fentanyl, and those people have to really know what they're doing to not overdose themselves.
So
Exactly.
we've had like that. I mean, we remember probably in the last year, you see on the TV or any of the news stations, like, oh, fentanyl is crazy over here in Kentucky. Fentanyl's out of control over here. Where is it coming from, and how do we stop it?
It's coming from Mexico and China, from what I know, from what I've researched and read, and I keep up on this as much as I can. But a lot of it comes over the borders. I don't know how to do a better job. It seems like it shouldn't be that difficult to stop it from coming over, but it keeps coming over. And then whenever there is a big drug bust, they show you, oh, look, this is like $10 million worth of fentanyl that could kill everyone in the state.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean.
Gotcha.
So they're trying, but not hard enough, I don't think. I mean, it
Yeah.
shouldn't even be out there.
How was the healthcare system when you were dealing with Kevin? In other words, did you have health insurance, not have it? Like, what kind of help can you get? What had happened?
When he was young, he had really good health insurance because I was working, and I had a good insurance policy, and that covered his mental health care. It covered rehab for him for the parts that it will cover. I mean, rehab, you usually have to pay some out of pocket. And my family, my mom, my sister, helped me pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars towards rehab. So it is expensive, even if you have good insurance. As far as mental health care, it usually pays for that. It pays for counseling, if you're lucky, and psychiatry, and it will pay for if you do need to be hospitalized for some kind of mental breakdown, which happens a lot. It happened to Kevin probably 10 times over his life.
Mhm. How much of the story, how much of the blame did you think you put on yourself as opposed to all being on Kevin? Did you see it that way, or how do you see how should people see it that are going through this right now?
Oh, yeah. The first few years, I just blamed myself. What did I do wrong? What should I have done different? I think most parents go through that. You just wonder, what did I do? Why is my child doing this? But the more I learned, and as time went on, I realized it was nothing that I did. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes, but all parents make mistakes. And when you make them in love, your intentions are good. So I had to forgive myself for some of the things I look back on and think, well, should I really have done that? Um, it was very difficult, and it's difficult to know what to do. You have a lot of people saying, kick your kid out, let them go, don't talk to them, don't give them money, don't associate with them. I mean, that's like the extreme. And then other people that say, no, you need to love them more than ever to let them know they're worth it. So they will want to stick around and hopefully stop using drugs.
So what is the answer though? I mean, is it love or tough love, or is there really anything you can do, or is it the person themselves they have to get out of it? How?
I think it's a combination of the person wants to get out of it and having support from people that love you and care about you. The 12 steps works for a lot of people, but if you have a supportive family behind you, that helps you. It helps you to know. I mean, okay, let me say this. Kevin loathed himself. He hated himself. He blamed himself. He felt worthless. He put himself down. So if he didn't have me to tell him every day that he was worthy, that he was lovable, that he was a good person, I think he would have been gone a lot sooner. I really
Yeah.
do. You know, they're their own worst enemies. And then they feel guilt because of what they put their families through. I
Yeah.
mean, you go through a lot when you love someone who has substance use disorder. You really do.
What did your friends, family, coworkers think while you were going through this? And did you tell them?
Oh yeah, I was very open. I have never been ashamed because we need to talk about it. If people hide it, that's why there's stigma. People think it's this horrible thing. It's not. It's a problem. It's something that's going on all over the place.
Hmm.
So I talked about it. At the time, my coworkers had mixed feelings of, you know, you need to kick them out, but they didn't know. They weren't dealing with it. My family was extremely supportive. Kevin and I lived with my mom and my sister, and they were the most supportive of all. My friends were very supportive of me. They had to listen to me. I mean, I'm sure they got sick of all my stories of worry and, oh, he's in jail and now he's in the hospital. And now I don't know where he is because I haven't heard from him in a week, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many things, even I'm thinking right now, it's like you listen to people like, oh, you got to be tough. It's like they're going to figure it out or they're not going to figure it out. And you're caught in the middle of this trap of, I love my son. I just can't let him go. Was there ever a point where you go like, I just can't do this anymore and I need help myself? And did you seek like, mental health?
Well, I was already taking an antidepressant because I've struggled with that since I was a child as well. But I did go to Al-Anon for a while, and Al-Anon teaches you how to take care of yourself. But they also have very strong opinions. My group was divided of tough love and non-tough love. And I eventually stopped going because I was one of the non-tough love people, and we would get put down weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that anymore. I didn't like defending myself. I think uh, I forgot the question again. I'm sorry.
No, we're talking love, tough love, and
Love
I
tough love.
understand.
Yes, I did get to the point where I did kick him out a few times. I said, I can't take this anymore. Get out of here. Go away. And that's when things got really bad, really bad. And I realized that in my individual situation with my son, he was better off living with me than he was on the street. Living usually he lived in hotels with other people that were using. He never really lived on the streets. Some people end up on the streets, but that was his thing. He would end up in a hotel and use even more and commit even more crimes to get money. So I let him live with me for a long time.
Yeah. Was there ever a point, I know sometimes addicts and people will steal from their family. Was there a point that was happening to you?
Oh yeah, that happened a lot.
All right.
That
And
happened a lot.
what did you do? What did you say when you caught that happening?
Well, we would have arguments and I would scream and yell at him and he'd promise he'd never do it again and he'd apologize and but it did eventually slow down. I think he found other ways, which I do talk about in my book, which I don't even want to go into right now, but he found other ways to make money. And a lot of times you'll buy more than you need so you can sell some to get some money to buy your next batch.
Hmm.
So that was happening with him a lot too.
What would you do different now that you've had all this time to think about it? And then what can you tell other people who are going through something similar? What would you do different?
What would I do different? I ask myself that constantly. Um, I might have, I don't know. I thought, well, maybe if I moved, but even if you move to a different area, they're going to find the drug users and the dealers there. I really don't know. I honestly don't know what I would have done differently. But to parents, I would say take it extremely seriously. If your teen or young adult starts using drugs, offer them help, get them into a program, the longest program you can find. I mean, 30 days is not enough. 90 days is better. 6 months is better, is really good. A year is perfect. I mean, if they've been using for a year, they need to redo their whole life. They need to learn so many things and to grow up and to learn how to live without being high all the time. I mean, Kevin only had one job in his whole life. He only had one job. So
What about the families where you've got the family's disjointed? You've got maybe the tough love dad and you've got the loving mom. What do you do about that situation?
oh wow, I actually feel fortunate in a way that I didn't have a husband because I think that is very common. It's very common. I've seen that so much, and it really is hard on a marriage. Um, I would say, you just have to come to a middle ground. And I don't know. I mean, I've never been in that situation, but I see it. I've seen it destroy marriages. I've seen a
Mhm.
lot of marriages not make it through something like this, especially when the child dies and passes away. It's horrible for a lot of people and their families. It destroys the family. It doesn't just hurt the mom or the dad, it hurts the siblings, it hurts the friends, and
Yeah.
it's tragic.
You know, you wrote your book and you speak and you do all these things and you're keeping Kevin alive that way, and that's your way of memorializing him. What can other families who have actually had their child die do to get past the grief and move on?
Oh boy, I wish you could get past the grief and move on, but that's just not going to happen. You never get over it when you lose a child, no matter how you lose them. Um, you just don't get over it. I just finished writing my next book called Talk to Me, I'm Grieving. And that has a lot of suggestions and things in there. But I think a lot of parents, the ones I know, have found very creative ways to memorialize their child, like creating a garden, a beautiful garden in their yard.
Mhm.
Some people have a bench that's dedicated to their child sitting somewhere at a park. Um, they have, on their memorial days, their days of, that they lost their child, they will have some kind of a gathering, or on their birthday for all their friends to come and talk about and remember their person. I think talking about your person, it makes others around you uncomfortable until they see, oh, she likes talking about Kevin, so it's okay for me to talk about Kevin. And that really helps, just talking about him. And I talk about the good things. I love talking about silly things he did or funny stories. That just makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But you never really get over it. You really don't.
Yeah. And again, one of the reasons we have this whole program is so that people can go like, wow, she is talking about it really openly. And if somebody knows a parent or a coworker or a friend that has someone in their lives that's going through this, would you suggest going up and talking to them, saying, look, I know you're going through something hard, or do you wait for them to bring it up? How do you handle it?
I would go to them because most likely they're not going to bring it up. I would say to them, I know you're struggling with this issue and I just want to support you in any way I can. I'm here to listen, not to judge, not to give you advice, but just to listen and support you.
Like
And
literally
that,
just be that open and say like,
yeah,
because you may not know, you may think you know what's going on, but you don't know in the family. So it's just
yeah.
start
Or
the
you could
conversation.
ask, you seem off. What's going on? I care about you and you can tell me. Of course, the person has to trust you to be able to share that. But I think it really makes a difference if we have other people to share with. I would be lost without my support group, Solace for Hope. I don't know what I'd do without the other parents that I know, because we're there for each other and we're the only ones that truly, truly understand what it's like.
Gotcha. What is like the overarching message you want to get out to everybody who's watching us right now?
That the stigma against mental health and substance use disorder needs to end, because part of the problem is people are afraid to ask for help and they know they're being judged and looked down upon and treated differently. And we have to look at it for what it is. It's not a moral failing, it's not a character flaw. So that is the overall message, and to lend support to people that are going through it, to the parents, the families, the siblings. It's so lonely. You feel so alone, both while the person is going through it and after the person is gone. You just feel abandoned by a lot of people because they're so uncomfortable being around you now.
Gotcha. That's key right there. That's something you're right. They feel weird and uncomfortable about being around you, even though you're not the person doing the bad thing, quote unquote.
Right.
So it's hard. You just have to get out there and open up and say, look, I can be here to help and support.
Yeah, it's not easy, but if you truly care about someone, it's like giving them a gift, a lifeline almost.
I hear you. Thank you for all that. I want to do something with you. I'm going to keep on topic here. I want to learn some more about you, about Barbara.
Okay.
We're going to play a game. We call it this or that. I'm going to give you two choices. You can choose one or the other, but you can't choose neither or both. And if you
Okay.
feel like you have to explain yourself, we can do some of that too. Let's start easy and we'll get harder as we
Okay.
go. Okay.
I'm ready for it.
All right. How about reading for comfort or writing for comfort?
Writing.
Okay, yeah, you've written a couple of books, and so I can understand that. Um, Talking about your experiences or listening to others' stories?
Wow. Listening to other stories.
Yeah. What kind of stories, when you listen to other people's stories, do you go like, dang, that happened to me and I know what's coming next? Or what happens when you listen to stories?
Sometimes I'm thinking that. Usually I'm just totally focused on the person, feeling a lot of empathy for them and just trying to be there for them. But yeah, our stories are all very similar,
Wow.
different, but the same.
Okay, let's stay on the easy side, maybe. How about Mental Health Awareness Month or Substance Use Disorder Awareness Month?
I can't say equal. Um, Gosh, that's a hard one.
No, they get harder.
I guess mental health, because people just don't understand mental health. I think they understand substance use
Hmm.
better, but yeah, mental health is so misunderstood.
Okay. How about spending time alone to process your emotions or being around loved ones?
Alone.
Alone, really?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's get a little tougher. How about speaking in public or writing in solitude about your
Writing
experience?
in solitude.
Okay.
Totally.
So you don't want to talk to me? Come on.
No, I like talking to you. I when you said that, I thought of all these people in a room. I don't
Okay.
like doing that, but I do it if I have to.
Okay. How about mindful meditation or exercise to cope with stress?
Mindful meditation.
Okay. Uh, Let me see. Structured grief counseling or spontaneous personal methods for dealing with loss?
Wow. For me, it's personal, but
Mhm.
I'm certainly not knocking therapy. I think that's really helpful for a lot of people.
Okay. How about small, intimate support groups or large, diverse discussion forums?
Small, intimate support groups.
Okay. And you find that actually helps. Does that help both? Is victim a good word, or does that help the person using as well as the family members?
I
Which way do
think
you think
so.
that?
I think so. And then you grow intimate relationships with these people, so they're part of your lives, and you're there for each other on certain days of the month that are really hard, like
Okay.
birthdays and stuff.
What about for people who are just getting into this and maybe they're opening up, maybe they're not, but what about maintaining privacy or sharing their story publicly?
Well, for me, it's sharing publicly, obviously.
Mhm. Okay. For personal healing, individual therapy or supporting groups? Just for personal healing.
Personally, individual therapy.
Okay. In terms of processing grief, memorializing the past or focusing on the present and future.
Wait, what? Say
So if
that
you're
again.
processing grief, memorializing the past,
Oh,
focusing on the present.
wow. Memorializing the past.
Okay. Okay. And when dealing with a loved one's addictions, tough love or unconditional support? I think I know the answer
Unconditional
for that for you.
support.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
unconditional support. Have you seen tough love work?
Oh, yes. You know what? It does work. And I don't want to sound like I'm knocking it, because I've talked to a lot of people that have told me, yeah, if my parents hadn't kicked me out, I wouldn't be here today. So it does work. I think it's a very individual thing. You have to know your child. You have to know your person and how they're going to handle it. But for
Gotcha.
the most part, I think unconditional love is a lot more helpful.
Okay. So I got two more for you. Being known as an author, or would you rather be known as an advocate?
Oh, wow. An advocate.
Uh, if you had the power, would you focus on prevention or improving treatments and support systems?
Wow, that is such a good question. I think improving treatment, because there's a huge lack of mental health treatment. People think you can get help when you need it. No, there's nowhere to take someone that has a serious mental illness, that has a hard time functioning in life.
Hmm.
There's nowhere for them to actually go. That's why we have so many homeless people.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Thank you for being on. And people need to read your book and stay in touch with you, and they'd be able to ask you questions. You've got your website, BarbaraLegere.com. And you've also got what I wish everybody had. And you've got this awesome Linktree, Linktr.ee, Linktree/Barbara Legere 925. So somehow we're going to get people in touch with you. I love the fact that you're open and frank and honest about this. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Michael. I really enjoyed talking to you.
We'll have to do it again.
Okay, that would be great.
When your next book's ready, let's do some more talking.
Oh, okay. I would love to talk about that.
Excellent. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.